For more than 40 years, People Incorporated has been an integral part of the greater Fall River community. Creative, collaborative, and invested in the region, we have consistently developed supports to make our community a better place to live. Dedicated to a better future for all our citizens, we are People on the Move. Hi folks, I'm Bob Canuel, President and CEO of People Incorporated, welcoming you to another episode of People on the Move. Our guest in the studio with us today is Bob Horne, who is the Executive Director of the Fall River United Way, and we're going to be talking about a lot of issues today, some of our community needs, some of the things that the United Way does each and every day to help the greater community of Fall River. So, Bob, welcome to the studio.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
It's a pleasure to have you. A couple of Case High grads just getting together and having a chat, right?
Yeah, a little reunion.
A good reunion. So Bob, most people, I think, in the community know you well. But if you could, just a little background on how long you've been at the United Way, and where you came from prior to working there.
Yeah, this is my 19th year at the United Way. I was a banker in town for almost 20 years. Graduate of Case High School and attended college for a little while, and felt that I needed to move on with my life and got into banking and rose through the ranks and had an opportunity, having served in the community on a volunteer basis, particularly at the United Way, had an opportunity to take on the role of the Chief Executive Officer. So It's been a nice experience.
Yeah, and a bit of a change of pace, I would imagine, from what you were doing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. One of the things, I've actually worked in a number of areas prior to coming back to People Incorporated, and the Fall River United Way is the fourth United Way that I've had the pleasure of working with, and I've always been a strong advocate for what United Way does. Could you talk a little bit about the amount of money that the United Way raises and how you distribute that money out to the community?
Sure. Last year we raised $1.4 million, and it's been a struggle with the economy and things like that. And what we do is basically raise the money and distribute it in a number of different ways. One is particularly through our allocations process, where the agencies go through a comprehensive review by volunteers. It's not the staff that makes the decision of funding. And after that review, an allocation is made to the agencies. There are some agencies that receive gifts through designations where a donor says, I want my money to go to a particular organization, and we do that, or a field of service. We also have a funding program, community impact grant program, about $149,000, small grants that meet immediate needs in the community. And the last piece is our annual food distribution program, where we provide funding to food pantries, food kitchens and shelters, particularly around the holidays.
Mm. Yeah, I'd like to talk about both of those programs, because we've been the recipient from time to time of grants through both community impact and through the emergency food allocations, and it's amazing how much extra we can get accomplished on behalf of people in the community through those grants. And I know many times, you as a nonprofit organization, you have an idea that you want to try to develop into a standing program, and to be able to get an impact grant that allows you to have a year, to be able to work on that, gives you that sort of starting point where then, we're able to go to other foundations and funding sources to try to be able to get some continuation funding for it.
Right.
So now the community impact grants recently awarded for this year, correct?
Correct.
Could you talk a little bit about some of the organizations that got funding, and how many people were able to get some grants out of that?
Sure. We provided 17 grants totaling $141,000. Largest grant was $10,000, and it ranges from Boys and Girls Club of Fall River, the Smiles program through People Incorporated, Sir Jobs for Progress. We have a program which allows individuals who are coming in for classes at Sir Jobs, and rather than leave their children at home, they bring their children in, and there's tutors there and computers, and we've funded that program for a couple of years.
Great idea.
We also provided funding this year to the Marine Corps group in Somerset to provide packages for servicemen overseas. in
Wow.
Afghanistan as well as other countries.
Yeah.
It's a broad range, and we hope that it serves as seed money for programs. We've been doing it since 1986, and we had a program that we funded back for the city of Fall River, actually, in in the 90s, and that program remains in function today. So we hope that when we provide those grants, that they might provide leverage for other funding.
Yeah. That's great. Now, you mentioned about the emergency food dollars that the United Way is providing, and one of the things that has astounded us is that it's probably been maybe 3 or 4 years now that emergency food has been a core part of what we're providing as well, because of the opening of our community center, the FACE Center, and the amount of people that are accessing food and in need of food has just grown like through the roof. Could you talk a little bit about what you folks do and why it was you came to a point of recognizing that there was such an enormous need?
Well, it's feedback from the community mostly. Interestingly enough, we granted one of our community impact grants recently for baby food because there was a shortage of baby food in the local food pantry. The other part that I've included in my presentations every year, last couple of years anyway, is a picture that I took of the line that was set up for a soup kitchen at the First Baptist Church. Line was around the corner about an hour before the soup kitchen opened.
Yeah.
It really had an impact on me. I took a picture and I actually used that picture in my presentations.
Yeah.
But it's feedback from the community, and it would be nice to see some coordination, a little more coordination between the food pantries and the soup kitchens.
Yeah.
They work together fairly well, but I think there's some need for some improvement.
Yeah, that's always a struggle because, so many of the food pantries and are results of either small community groups or religious groups putting together a program to benefit their own select group of people. And I know years ago when I had worked in Rhode Island, we had put together a citywide program to provide more case management supports for the food pantries, to help those people get access to other supports and services. But you're right. I mean, the better we coordinate all of our services in the community, the better we serve people and the more efficiently we use our resources.
And the other piece is not only providing food to individuals that come and need a meal, but also provide some guidance for them relative to aid that they might be able to receive from the city or the state or whatever.
Because I know you've been at this for almost 20 years now. Things change so much from year to year in terms of what individual agencies provide, because so much of it is grant money, that every attempt to try to understand what the nonprofit community does provide gets so complicated because it's an ever-changing array of services that are out there. So,
we receive a report from community development periodically as to what's available in the community in terms of services for food and soup kitchens and aid. And when I say periodically, it changes almost weekly. So we get an update because there's so many changes and so many things happening.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I've always loved about United Way is how it brings the nonprofit community together. And within the United Ways themselves, you coordinate and collaborate quite a bit. And I understand that there's a program that you're currently working on with the New Bedford United Way. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. It's called Get Connected. We saw a need in the community for a volunteer center, hopefully based at the United Way. And we're collaborating with the United Way of New Bedford in this program. And what it will provide is an opportunity for agencies, not only United Way agencies, but non-United Way agencies, to access this volunteer center, to provide opportunities for volunteers. It'll be an opportunity for individuals to search the site for volunteer opportunities to take advantage of.
Yeah.
It also has a piece to it that allows for local organizations, nonprofit organizations, to post employment opportunities as well, which is a nice side piece. But it's nice to be able to work with another United Way in a cooperative effort. And, I think it's going to be a nice program for us.
And I would be willing to venture that there are many people out in the community who would like to volunteer but aren't always sure where to go, or may not even know that, gee, this is a nonprofit whose mission and whose programs and services fit so well into what I would like to be able to add to my community. So it's a great idea.
Yeah. Some people don't realize that that there are things that they're interested in, that there are opportunities to volunteer for.
Yeah.
We hope this site will provide some of that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the infamous campaign. We're getting geared up, right?
Yeah,
We're ready to go?
Yep, we'll kick off with our informal kickoff with our board solicitation, and secondarily we start our lantern solicitation for
Yeah.
our leadership donors. We're rolling over the city campaign this year. We're not doing a direct campaign with the city as well as the schools, so we hope that that'll hold up. But as you see in the community, there are companies cutting back.
Yeah.
Issues that are happening around, but we hope that there are opportunities that we haven't been able to reach before, and we'll work hard to get those.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, we can help more people step up to the plate and embrace the mission statement of United Way. I know since I've come back 10 years ago, to People Incorporated, we've really taken some proactive steps toward making sure that our campaign really maximizes. Every year I'm so impressed with my employees and their willingness, to participate in the United Way campaign. But it really starts by being able to educate your employees about the wide range of services that the United Way supports. It's an amazing amount of services.
I'm amazed as well. The leadership giving at People Incorporated has been tremendous. The increase in the campaign from year to year has been tremendous as well.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in a couple of other agencies. There are a couple of agencies we need to push a little bit more.
Yeah.
And by pushing, I don't mean pushing for giving, other than more education about what we do and how we do it, and the things that we can do with the dollars that we raise.
Yeah, I know the video that you folks put together that we showed at all of our employee meetings that we had about the United Way was so simple and so well done that it was funny. The first time we showed it, we had a group of maybe 30 or 40 direct care professionals sitting in the room. And at the end of it, it was like absolute silence because it just really struck to the core of what you folks do.
It was a nice video for us, and actually we've updated it this year and included more agencies.
Yeah.
And a sort of a more well-rounded opportunity.
So the opening of the campaign this year, will it be another bowling tournament?
We'll have bowling. We'll actually have a kickoff week. We'll be holding signs, doing a community project. And it'll kick off formally with the bowling event, which is
I just wanted to be on record that it may have looked like I really didn't know what I was doing last year when I was bowling, but I'll admit it now. I threw it because I didn't want us to win the bowling match, but this year we're going to be down to serious business on this, Bob.
Even if you don't win the bowling, you have an opportunity to win the Spirit Award.
Yeah.
So
could you put the gutter bumpers up for me though this year? That might help my score a little bit. So the campaign is ready to go, and the campaign is kind of stretched out over time, huh?
Yeah, we've actually changed our fiscal year to give us an opportunity to expand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
It pretty much starts in September, although we do some campaigning in August as well, and summertime mailing. But we've stretched it out to pretty much the end of February so that we can maximize the amount of money that we raise in order to maximize the amount of money that we distribute in the community.
Yeah, and you guys have always been incredibly generous about reaching into your own reserves to provide additional supports when you identify some significant community issues.
Yeah, we did that this past year.
Yeah. So could we talk a little bit about that? How do you go about assessing the needs in a community and coming to a decision? Because there are, I think we've all, readily admitted there are so many issues that we need to grapple with in our community. How do you make that determination about where you're going to try to allocate your resources?
We try to keep in touch with our agencies throughout the year, looking for statistics and information and things that are happening, react to problems or issues if there happen to be things, or react to positive things and highlights. But it's really through the allocations process, where our volunteers meet with the agencies and the agency director and the finance people and the marketing people as well, and getting some feedback about what's going on in the community and how things are happening. And so it's really through that allocation process. We have over 40 people that are involved as volunteers in that opportunity, and some that are not involved with agencies in any way, shape, or form, other agencies, which gives a fresh outlook to what's happening in the community and how we need to react to the need.
Huh. Now, when you are working with different agencies, another thing that has always struck me, and when I first came back to the Fall River area, and I looked at the people that you had on the United Way board, I was incredibly impressed with the level of leadership, from a variety of different businesses and other areas of the city. How do you go about recruiting so many incredibly talented people to serve on your board?
We're very impressed with our board. Very happy with their commitment. We see a lot of boards where board members don't participate, don't come to meetings. That's not necessarily the case at the United Way. It's a review process. We seek out the senior leadership in the community, and sometimes the senior leadership, presidents of the banks, whatever, might not be able to make a commitment, but we try to get there. People that are active, that are involved in the community, because part of their mission and their job as directors is to help us raise funds.
Yeah.
And their connections are very important to us.
Yeah. Now, have you already named the chairperson of our fundraising event this year? Or?
Allison Bouchard,
Allison?
city clerk, City of Fall River.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. She was an excellent volunteer for us the past couple of years, and agreed to take a step up.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of people in place. Mike McDonald has made a commitment to chair next year's campaign, and hopefully we've got another couple of people so that we can have some leadership progression. Succession, but probably a better word, on our leadership roles.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, when it gets to the actual conducting of a campaign, and you're asking the various agencies and companies that support United Way to put a campaign together, I would imagine there's a wide range of involvement, but I know what we've tried really hard to do, and Pam O'Neill, who is our Vice President of Communications and Administration, has taken a leadership role in our campaign. We try to make it a really fun event, and I know last year our grand prize to people who everybody got a chance to be a part of a raffle drawing if they had in fact committed to a contribution. And I think our grand prize was a $250 gift certificate.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you see, that different companies do to try to entice their employees to give?
An organization like Health First has a luncheon that they conduct. Probably the most visible one that I recall is Star. They bake a cake with a United Way symbol on it, and they have balloons, and they have each department within Star prepares a sort of a holiday basket, and they raffle off the baskets, and it's really it's an all-day event.
Yeah. Now, how many agencies are currently United Way members?
31 in total.
31 nonprofit communities throughout the greater Fall River area.
Serving services in the community from birth till death.
Yeah.
A wide range of recreational programs, health programs, just a broad range of what we feel are the needs in the community.
Yeah. And the needs in the community are ever changing. Some of the things that we grapple with today are so much more an issue than they were 10 years ago. Yeah. And we know 10 years from now that may change again. What are some of the things that United Way is talking about on a national level that they're working with the local chapters to sort of anticipate and get ahead of?
Sure. Pretty much a focus on overall health, literacy, making sure that children are given the right opportunities to grow and develop. Those are really the keys that we see. We focus a little more on food programs and shelter programs and homelessness, which is a little different from the national organization. But as I said, literacy is very strong, and health programs, overall health programs. Yeah. Just as an example, diabetes program that is part of People Incorporated. The visibility of that and the need for support for diabetes is greater today than it was a year ago and 10 years ago, and
It's
that's just
amazing.
a good example.
Yeah, it's amazing the numbers of people, being diagnosed each and every year with diabetes in our country.
Yeah.
It just continues to escalate. This week and United Way has been the primary supporter of the Diabetes Association, along with the Charlton Family Foundation. And we had our first day of camp, this week.
Camp Jack.
Yeah, at the Jack Brewer camp for kids with diabetes. And when you're there and you see these kids just acting like kids, not worrying about their diabetes, and just having an enormously great time, it's one of those things that just makes you feel really good about what it is you're doing, and about the fact that we can create this kind of a partnership that provides that support.
And it's nice for somebody like myself with the opportunity every year to go to Camp Jack. I wasn't able to go
Yeah.
last year, but I've been several years.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see things happening.
Yeah.
I'll actually be at the Boys and Girls Club
Yeah.
camp next week to see what's happening with the.
And we
with that
do
camp.
want to clarify, you come as a visitor, not as a camper. So, but you've been supportive around. You mentioned literacy, and there are so many good things that go on. And you mentioned the Smiles program, and I was honored when the Smiles program had reached out to People Incorporated to kind of help them through a transition a period where we knew funding was an issue for them, and we were able to put a partnership together that works and keeps it solvent, which is the same thing we did with your help when the Diabetes Association was struggling years ago. And this year, through a partnership, we were able to put together an extension of our community center, so we're now operating out of the Laterno School as well. And one of the things, so simple, but one of the things we're doing this year is, because BCC is one of our partners, we're going to provide transportation to the children in the Laterno area. BCC is giving free tuition to some of the kids, and we're going to get those kids who might otherwise not even have an understanding of what a college is, we're going to get them over to BCC so they can participate in the Summer Kids College program.
Nice
And that's a great example of United Way providing support to a nonprofit that partners with an educational facility and kids benefit.
Yeah. We actually had a community project that we did as part of our visibility campaign, where we just recently provided 800 backpacks filled with books and assorted school supplies,
Yeah.
and distributed those to, I think it was 5 or 6 schools in the area, 2nd and 3rd grades.
Yeah.
It was a nice presentation. We had volunteers involved in the process. People Incorporated was involved as volunteers, not only in stuffing the backpacks, but also the distribution that we made to the schools.
Yeah.
Part of the literacy piece that we think is important.
Yeah. So the future for United Way in Fall River, any plans for new directions, new opportunities, anything that you want the community to be aware of that you're planning?
We're always thinking, always trying to find ways to work with our neighboring United Ways, as I talked about with the collaboration with the Volunteer Center. We meet on a periodic basis. In fact, we're meeting in a couple of weeks with the United Ways in Plymouth County, Attleboro, Taunton, the Cape, and New Bedford as well.
Yeah.
And we talk about ways that we might be able to work together. We're all basically struggling with the campaign side of
Yeah.
things. And any opportunity that we can get to work with the other United Ways, we want to do that.
Yeah.
In terms of locally, we're trying to consolidate a little bit, make sure that we're efficient, that our overhead is as low as it possibly can be,
Yeah.
and take opportunities through our endowment fund to, again, fund programs and projects that we think are important in the community.
Yeah. And there are many.
Yeah.
One of the things also about United Way that's always been impressive to me is how you guys are able to step out front when a need, when a new concern for a community presents itself, and direct supports and services to address that issue. Believe it or not, we're running out of time.
Okay.
So love to have you come back sometime in the future, Bob, maybe after the campaign is over and we can let people know how successful it was. But you know, for those of you who are listening to the show tonight, I would encourage you to participate in any way that you can with contributions to United Way. Not only, you know, does People Incorporated benefit from the supports, but many other communities in the greater Fall River area benefit regularly. Great work that you and your staff do, and a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, appreciate it. You do a great job at People Incorporated.
Thanks. So thank you again for tuning in to People on the Move, and we hope to see you when we present future programs to the community.